Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well this evening. I want to say, first of all, a big thank you to Ministerian. Rise up, Maxiteers. Very good. So let's start at the top. Who's on the stream tonight? We have Mark Sanders. Great to see you, Mark. Question straight away. Is it possible that the new Alba party will take votes from the Greens, allowing a pro-union majority? I'm not sure. We're going to read about a little bit about that in a little bit. So we have UBI. Great to see you once again, UBI. Hope you're well. We have Orange Coloured Unicorn. This is a great name. We have Raven. Great to see you once again, Raven. Nico. Great to see you, Nico. Hope you're well. Inconsequential. Great to see you. We have Enzo the God, and we have Hello All UBI. Glasgow Case. Great to see you, Glasgow. Hope you're well. We have Mary Parry. Great to see you. Anonymous, great to see you. Ere, great to have you on. We have Killer, great to see you, Killer. Hope you're well. Paul, great to see you, Paul. Hope things are good with you. Tiny Demolition Lover, great to have you on once again. Hope you're well. We have Lenan, great to have you on, Lenan. Hope you're well. We also have, did I say hello to John O'Sullivan? I hope I did. I say hello now. Add2YV, great to see you. Eddie, great to have you on. Dano, great to see you. Bookham Dano. We have Joe Green, great to see you. Joe. Gene T, great to see you. Who else? Zoe Castles, once again, great to have you on. Haven't seen you in a while, Zoe. Hope you're well. We have FSM is the dog. FSM certainly is the dog. Angela, great to see you. Who else have we got? English Viking, great to have you on. English, hope you're well. I'll just go down pretty quickly. Giorgio, great to see you, Giorgio. Gratok, great to have you on. Catherine, Cheryl, great to see you. Sugar Free, hope you're well. Hi all. Then we have Tom, Kendra. I just go very quickly down. Who's here? Herbie, great to see you. Nick, Frank Carter. Panda, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Hope you're well. Thanks very much for that. Frank, great to see you. Artemis, great to have you on. Tom, great to see you. Jim, happy birthday, Jim. Wishing Jim a very happy birthday. We have Valerio, thank you so much for that. Valerio Tarantino. Brexiteers will criticize the bad numbers in trading. Yes. It's that's what Brexiteers do. if it's going the other way, yeah, we're doing great. But I don't know. At this stage, with numbers for trade is down, Brexiteers are actually saying it's good for the environment. For example, yeah, there are fewer trucks on the roads. Yeah, but that's good for the environment. They've suddenly become environmentalists overnight. Anonymous, great to see you. Thanks for that super chat. What do you think of Priti Patel's eyebrows? Bargain at £75,000. That money could have gone towards the UBI. Yes, of course. Thanks for that. I hope I didn't miss anyone else's super chats. Just double check. No. I couldn't believe it when I just saw it before I came on the stream about Priti Patel spending £75,000 on eyebrows. Someone on Twitter mentioned how much does she have to spend on waxing somewhere else? We wouldn't want to know. David McGuinness, great to see you. Who else have we got? David Markey, great to see you. Let me see. Reagan Elite, who said UBI? Yes, who said UBI? But no, £75,000. You know, there was a huge hullabaloo from the Conservatives about the SNP spending money to go after Alex Salmond, to spend money on an investigation, and but for Priti Patel to spend £75,000 on eyebrows, I don't know what to say. Her mustache. French, try damn it. DJ, hi. Kylie Jenner spent 5,000 on her makeup artist brain surgery after she got an accident in the US. She's worth 700 million. My God. Regarding Patel or anyone waxing somewhere else, that's it's surely a rip-off. $5,000 in Primark. Conservator, happy birthday to Jim. Yes, many happy returns to Jim. Wishing Jim a wonderful birthday. I hope he didn't get too drunk. I hope he got everything that he wanted. Amadeus, great to have you on. George, great to see you. James May, great to have you on. I just feel sorry for whoever had the show waxing that growler. Yes. Like, imagine she'd be a wonderful patient, a wonderful customer. So guys, remember you can support the channel by sending a super chat. I'll read it out, or you can also support the channel by becoming a patron, and you get access to Discord. So lots of fun over there. Did Circle get the contract? Probably, Adrian. Yes, that's it. I'll share the beer stash on the chat later. Cool. Can't wait to see the selection. Pretty vacant. Mega Harry. I love that name. Vampire Patel has more waxing to do. Then you know she also has to pay high cost for her blood-sucking teeth. Is Alex back? No one mentioned the Brazilian. Pretty expensive waxing, yes, Tom. Well said. Okay, so let's jump to the first article. Of course, is Alex Salmond launching. Say happy birthday to Jim. Jim, happy birthday, Jim. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jim Mo. Happy birthday to you. That's the best I can do. I don't have a ukulele or a guitar or anything, or an instrument. I can play nothing. That's my problem as well. Singing will have to do. So let's jump to this. It says, thanks for that super chat, Glasgow Case. Alex Salmond launches new independence-focused Alba party. So it says here, former First Minister says aim is to build supermajority, but his suitability as candidate questioned. There has been, so it seems a lot of people in the independence movement are not too happy about this because they fear that he's going to be a distraction, and there's a risk that he could split the vote. Oh Christ, not again. What's that? Correct me if I'm wrong. No, the Alcy, great to see you on the stream. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Alba the Old Scots for white? Alba is Gaelic for Scotland. Now Alba is Latin for white, as far as I know. Yeah, because Bianca is Italian, but I think Alba, because in Italian Alba is sunrise. Alapa. Dirty drinks against Scottish independence are underway. This is what I'd like to know: where, who's funding Alex Salmond, and who's funding him? Because I feel that perhaps this is Conservative money, or someone connected to the Conservative Party, or someone supportive of the Conservative Party. Alba is Latin. Okay. I thought it was Scottish. Yes, Monkeytron is right. Alba clearly means a great many things. Bianca in French. Isn't Alba a TV brand? Anyway, let's get into this story. So I want to show you this video with Alex Salmond launching the party. Scotland across Celtic languages. Thank you so much for that super chat, Minister, and thank you for that correction. Swar Alba, yes. Thank you so much for that super chat as well, Yosha. Hope you're well tonight. Thank you so much. I like Alba, Jessica. We're getting a little bit sidetracked there. Okay, let's see what he had to say for himself.
Tactics are to stand for the regional list to secure the supermajority for independence in our Parliament. We intend to contribute policy ideas to assist Scotland's economic recovery and to help build an independence platform to face new political realities. Now, if Alba wins regional list seats, the wasted votes end. The number of independents supporting MSPs in the Parliament could reach 90 or even more. The initiative for independence should then be led by the Parliament, uniting the parties. Boris Johnson has already said no to the SNP proposals. He will find it much more difficult to say no to a Parliament and a country.
So, guys, let's continue. So it says here, Alex Salmond has launched a new political party that is in what he described as a bid to build a supermajority for independence in the next Scottish Parliament, which could also enable him to return to Holyrood. So is this a vanity project? Is this him looking for power once again? Look, I think there's a possibility that this is more about Alex than it is about independence. I think he feels that he's been put on the shelf, he's been put aside, and he probably feels that, look, I was the driving force for independence, and then along came Nicola Sturgeon, and I was pushed aside, and now she's claiming victory. Standing on the, as he would probably describe it, as standing on the shoulders of giants. Him being the giant and her standing on his shoulders. And he's probably bitter about that. He probably wants, he sees a real possibility of Scottish independence and her getting all the credit. And he doesn't want that, of course. He wants to be part of it. Alex Salmond can't tell his arse from his Alba. From his Alba. Very well said. Mark Sanders, thanks so much for that super chat. And someone will ban all anti-harassment laws. Maybe, yes. What do you call sour grapes in Gaelic? A good question. Anyone to tell us what sour grapes is in Gaelic? He's probably brought by the opposers of independence to split the vote. There is this bus. It's either a vanity project or it could be something much more sinister. It could be money from the Tories or from the Unionists who see, look, we can't defeat Nicola Sturgeon. The Conservative brand is toxic. Labour are going nowhere. So what do? We put somebody to split the vote. A bit like in a sort of reverse how the the Lincoln Project were trying to campaign. They were trying to get people to go up against Donald Trump, Republicans to run against Donald Trump, in order to split the vote and allow Joe Biden to get in. Now, that at the end that didn't happen, and it wasn't necessary, but there was a movement to try and get someone to form some sort of campaign or to get somebody going against Trump, to primary Trump, but it sort of fell apart. Perkle, thank you so much for that super chat. Jessica Alba should be the patron saint of an independent Scotland. I don't even know if she has any Scottish blood in her. She's American. But thanks so much for that super chat. 2320. Somebody's watching the rugby. You should be watching the stream. I need to up my game. Bogdan, hope you're well. Thanks for coming on the stream. Hope you're well. Great to see you. So launching the Alba Party on Friday, he denied the new political force would rival the Scottish National Party, which he led for more than 2 decades, and insisted that the presence of other pro-independence parties in the Parliament would make the position of the Westminster government in refusing powers to hold the Scottish independent referendum fundamentally weaker. I don't know if that's true. Establishing parties immediately raises doubts about someone's suitability to be a candidate or lead a political party, and the SNP responding that it's responding that the interests of the country as it emerges from the pandemic should not be obscured by the self-interest of someone who shows no sign whatsoever of reflecting on serious concerns about his own conduct. Yeah, so it's if it wasn't run by Alex Salmond, then it would probably could be it could be even suggested that yes, perhaps it's a possible party to help the SNP in some way, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Era, thanks for this. Thank you so much for the super chat. Didn't Alex say that there was more evidence to come? I don't remember him saying that. That would be disappointing, but I think this could be just a threat. I'm not happy with what's happening here. I think look, I'm skeptical. I'm a bit cynical as well, and I feel that perhaps this is. I think it's either a vanity project. If it is, it's a terrible idea. But if it's an attempt to split the vote in some way, it would point to, of course, him getting backing from the Conservatives or someone of that type. Sugar-free. Max is an expert. An expat now, yes. No, an immigrant. Someone's latest was to start a police complaint. Did that go anywhere? No, it did not. Anyway, it continues. So during the press conference, Salmond sidestepped numerous questions about his suitability as a candidate and his previous treatment of female staff, following the publication days ago of evidence to the Hollywood inquiry that described the culture of complicity around his alleged inappropriate behaviour during his time in office. Someone said that the list-only party expected to field a minimum of 4 candidates in each regional list, with the aim of electing Alba MSPs, members of the Scottish Parliament, from every area of Scotland. Someone also announced that he would be a list candidate in the northeast region of the Scottish Parliament elections, which will be held on the 6th of May. So it'll be interesting to see who's actually running for this party. We don't actually have a list of who, so it would be interesting to see, because I'm assuming they would be perhaps people who used to be in the SNP. They'd need some other big names. So until we have names of who these people are, it's difficult to identify the motivation behind this. Because if it turns out to be ex-Tories or something, then you can be pretty sure that this is about splitting the vote. I don't really see it getting much traction. It's a bit late in the day to launch a party. I know the party has been around for a bit, but to officially launch it in this way, I don't see it really getting a lot of traction. Unless they're going to spend huge amounts of money advertising their candidates, promoting their candidates. But once again, I don't know how rich Alex is. Maybe he has millions, tucked away, and he's about to unleash a blitz of advertisements for his candidates. But I don't know. I don't know if there are going to be any debates coming up. It's still, we're almost in April now, and there hasn't really been a lot of campaigning. Okay, I want to move on with staying with the Scotland elections. Well, we have some good news for NHS staff. Now, some people are claiming this is just to it's just political theatre. It's just an attempt to win over voters. But if it's an attempt to win over voters and pay NHS staff a 4% rise instead of a 1% rise in England, then there's someone is benefiting here. So let's hear from this report.
Day one of an election campaign of enormous significance. If the SNP win, they'll push for a second independence referendum, which the UK government has given every indication it will refuse. Now, the Alex Salmond saga still very much casts a shadow over politics here. Who knows how voters will respond? Certainly it will keep coming up in the coming weeks. But today, on the first day of the campaign, a big change of subject onto NHS pay. Now, unlike Westminster, the Scottish Government doesn't use an independent pay review body. It negotiates directly, and those negotiations were supposed to be paused until the summer, until suddenly they weren't paused anymore. Now, did the SNP sense a political opportunity? More tough questions for Boris Johnson, including these, some asked.
Sorry, thank you very much, Bogdan. All hail Max, he donated his spare mankini to the NHS. Mankinis are a type of PPE. I know people don't believe me when I say that, but it is a type of PPE. Although don't use it as a type of PPE.
By nurses today, which is if you could pay nurses and other NHS workers 4% more in Scotland, why not elsewhere too? The very last act of Nicola Sturgeon's government before Scotland heads into a frantic election campaign. Not just applauding health workers, she says, but rewarding them with a pay offer 4 times what's on the table in England. The timing, quite the coincidence, as Nicola Sturgeon hit COVID-safe campaign mode. The SNP leader not available to speak to Channel 4 News, but she did give a pooled interview earlier.
I think a 1% pay offer is an insult to those who worked so hard, so tirelessly on our behalf during this crisis. So we've sought to put together an offer that is decent and that actually rewards our NHS workers for what they do.
The pay offer in Scotland contrasts with what's on the table for NHS workers in England. At least a 4% pay rise in Scotland versus 1% in England. An average £1,200 extra a year for a frontline nurse in Scotland versus an average £306 extra in England.
Now, I'd like to hear Boris Johnson respond to that. How is he going to say, yeah, no, it's better to pay people £300 instead of £1,200?
The Royal College of Nursing say they're bewildered.
It certainly shows that where there is will, one government at the moment is valuing its NHS workers more than another.
This was already potentially tricky territory for Boris Johnson, who has said 1% was as much as he could give nurses, and in a pooled interview at a nursery today wasn't.
Well, of course it's only, Boris Johnson can only afford 1% because, Priti Patel's eyebrows cost a lot of money. These nukes that they want to upgrade cost a lot of money. He's planning to build a bridge between Scotland and Northern Ireland. That's going to cost a lot of money. Brexit has cost a lot of money. And of course, test and trace that has some problems has cost a lot of money. So, 1% is all the government can afford.
Wasn't backtracking.
Of course, I understand why nurses, like so many others, would want to see better pay and better terms right now, and even though times are very tough.
So what sort of pay increase would the Scottish Tories,
good morning,
who are launching their campaign virtually earlier, give NHS staff?
I think that the Prime Minister has said, the 1%, but he's asking the peer review body to see what more can be done.
What more can be done? You could suggest 5%, but you're not going to do that. I don't think they will, because they don't care about the NHS. And also, if they were to give a significant increase, when they're selling it off, these private companies will be like, hey, wait a minute, we have to pay this level, we want to pay less.
to support nurses in the NHS.
What do you think? Do you think 1% is an adequate reward for NHS workers who have served us during this pandemic?
Well, that's the submission by the UK government. I think the Prime Minister has added to that by saying he wants to see how...
Can we put Douglas, isn't it? Douglas Murray, or what was it Boris Johnson called him? Murray Douglas, or whatever this guy's name, I forget now, I've forgotten his name already. Put him on minimum wage, or put him on the entry salary of an NHS nurse, and see how he likes it, and if he thinks, well, you know, every year 1% is enough.
How the independent pay body can look to give nurses and others as much as possible.
Keir Starmer, meanwhile, has nurses' pay front and centre of Labour's local election campaign in England. But in Scotland, are they being outflanked by the SNP? Nicola Sturgeon's stolen your thunder, isn't she?
Not at all. Look, I welcome a pay rise for our NHS staff. We still have to wait and see whether that is what the unions were looking for in terms of rewarding our NHS workers. But actually there's been more than just NHS workers in the front line. There have been social care workers, local government workers, other workers across the front line who also deserve a fair pay rise. And I think we want to fight for those people to get a pay rise too.
Okay, but how much? You should be saying something like 4% is not enough. We want to give them 8%.
This is what campaigning looks like just now. Politicians roaming empty streets like sole survivors of the apocalypse.
Like sole survivors of an apocalypse.
There'll be less of the old campaign trail energy this election. Voter facing electioneering, yet another victim of COVID.
Actually, this is something I don't mind. Because it's so tacky, it's so annoying when you see politicians like kissing babies, or when you see them, you know, pretending to care about the public. I'm glad this sort of campaigning isn't happening.
Just ask the Scottish Greens leader, kicking off with a pledge to lift 50,000 children out of poverty, as the fight for voters' attention shifts online and a quest for viral moments.
Right, we're ready for the story.
Not least by the Scottish Lib Dems, who could have fitted all...
What the hell is this? Someone called the police. There's no flag, well said Tom. Yeah, I haven't seen a flag yet. There's something seriously wrong in this video. I'm going to have to unlike this video because there isn't a flag in it. Thank you very much for that super chat.
All their MSPs from the last election on this chair, hoping to do better this time by putting teaching at the heart of their campaign. She hopes it'll be the election that forces a second independence referendum. Her biggest opponents say focus on the pandemic instead. There may not be the usual buzz, but there's an awful lot to fight for.
As I've said before, if Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Tories, even the Labour Party believe that the union is strong, then they shouldn't have a problem with a referendum. The public are becoming more and more convinced. The public in Scotland are becoming more and more convinced that the future is independence. They look at Westminster, they look at Boris Johnson, they look at the treatment of the Scots in Westminster, and they say, what's the point? What's the point in having your MPs in Westminster? They are absolutely powerless. And it's not because they don't have a majority, it's because Boris Johnson's government don't give a crap about what they say. Like, what's the point in even asking questions when the Prime Minister doesn't respond, he doesn't answer these questions? When you ask a serious question, Boris Johnson turns it around and starts talking about something else. Let me read some of your chats. They could have lifted the full party. They fitted the full party on the chair. Yeah, the Lib Dems don't have much of a presence in Scotland at the moment. What was the leader? What was her name? Jo Swindon, was it? Jo Swindon. What happened to her? I think Boris prefers, I guess, Jennifer Ackroyd. the technology expert pulled the whole lap dancer than BABs. guess I assume you mean kissing, yes. I'm dyeing my eyebrows Scottish tomorrow. It'll cost £75,000, you know. At the moment, Scotland had a conversion try to come. Where's the politician holding the milk? Ah, yes, yes. Actually, let me see if I can find him. Charles Walker milk. I just yes, that was a really funny clip. Let's see, we can.
Charles, you've been promising to protest with a pint of milk. Why a pint of milk?
Maybe I should have kept this for the funny part, but I think this is, I forgot to actually to include this, but this is just so ridiculous. So you have Charles Walker. If you don't know, Charles Walker wants to protest by walking around with a pint of milk.
Well, I've got it here because I projected this sort of symbolism on it. We've had protests virtually made illegal for the past year.
And isn't it interesting that he didn't vote when it came to the crime bill? That is stripping away people's right to vote, to protest. He didn't vote on that. I couldn't find any reference to a vote by Charles Walker, so I assume he was absent. Granthog, thank you so much for that super chat. Westminster has zero incentive to listen to Scotland. They have a vast majority of the population and a vast majority of Parliament. Yes, if you look at the voting record of the Conservatives, it's always about limiting power to Scotland and Wales. Whenever there's a vote about extending powers to Scotland or Wales, the Conservatives vote as a party against it. I don't think I've found one Conservative MP who has voted for more power for Scotland or Wales.
And it's going to continue to be illegal.
Scotland have beaten France. Well done. Well done, Scotland.
For the next few days, and then the government can make it illegal at a point of its choosing at any time in the next 6 months.
When did satire die? Can you imagine, taking this video and recording this and sending it back to the 1980s and said, in the future, this is what politicians would be like. And they said, no, this is some sort of comedy show.
So I said I was going to protest about the price of milk, but others could buy their pint of milk and use it as a symbol to protest perhaps about losing their job or their business, or perhaps a mental health condition roaring back as a result of lockdown and demons re-emerging around anxiety.
But I don't understand how the pint of milk represents anything. Or you're saying that walking around with a pint of milk is a symbol of what? Of protest? I'm protesting what? I just see a guy walking around with a pint of milk.
Anorexia or an addiction or depression. So it was a sort of symbolism of the frustration I feel at the moment. So
what frustration? He's walking around. He's protesting against being able to walk around, and he's walking around. He's complaining about not being able to walk around, and he's walking around. Like what freedoms has Charles Walker lost? He's not wearing a mask, but I assume he would be complaining about having to wear a mask, but he's not wearing a mask. And he's walking around and he's complaining about having some freedoms taken away. I don't understand what he's complaining about. What is his protest against?
People shouldn't read too deeply into it, but I want to...
Don't read too deeply into it. It just doesn't really mean anything.
Protest about the price of milk. People can protest about what they like, and you don't need an excuse to have a protest in a free country.
Right. I do feel your frustrations, but isn't the reality that actually the milk martyrs are in rather short supply at the moment? The government won this vote by a majority of 408. Aren't you out of tune with your colleagues and indeed the public?
Well, I'm often out of tune with my colleagues. I'm sure I'm out of tune with members of the public, some members of the public, and in tune with others. You know, not everybody wants to march with milk, Cathy. But look, at the end of the day, I'm elected.
I haven't seen this video, but I would like her to ask the question, where did you stand on the police bill? Now, I'm hoping that he said, no, I stood with the protesters. The protesters have the right to protest. I support them. I don't agree with the government taking away people's rights to protest, like in the crime bill. But I haven't. Let's see if she asked that question.
To exercise my judgment on things, and sometimes my judgment is found wanting, and my judgment can.
Where is the pint of milk? Where did he put it? Isn't he supposed to keep it on his body? On his person.
Always be questioned and challenged, but it is very much my view that restricting people's freedoms is the wrong way to do it. And
Sorry, the milk is a metaphor for cow udders. Okay, thanks, Era. Yeah, maybe. Okay, Johan, thank you so much for that super chat. Jo Swinson lost her seat to Amy Callaghan, SNP. She had been MP since 2000. Now, I was just wondering. I knew she lost her seat, but I was wondering what she's at the moment. Is she maybe she's a consultant?
Really didn't want to renew.
Orange coloured unicorns. He abstained from the vote. There we go. So this is all for show. This is about him remaining relevant. He's the Nigel Farage with the milk. You know, Nigel Farage normally gets the milk poured on his head. Charles Walker has the milk in his hand.
These powers again today, and I voted not to. And sadly, many colleagues voted to renew them. And once again, I was on the losing side. I always get defeated in the lobbies, but at least I'm not defeated as an individual. I'm still up for future fights.
But do you want all of the restrictions gone now?
I'm afraid I do. I absolutely do. I think this has gone on.
I feel sorry for the people of Broxbourne
for long enough, and I've personally had enough.
What did Farage get? Farage got a milkshake on his head.
Many people have had enough. I'm sure there are others who think that. I know there are others who think we're lifting the lockdown too quickly. But as one colleague pointed out, every extra day of lockdown costs the taxpayer another billion and costs many thousands of people their jobs.
Right.
And
then why the hell didn't you vote against the bill to take away other people's rights? The crime bill. Why didn't you vote against that? No, you were absent for that. Isn't that convenient? Joshua, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. No, you haven't written a comment, but that's fine. Thank you so much for that. I know there are others. No, Ben. Ben is here with his puns. I know there are others.
Their businesses.
So what would you do if you went down to your local pub and were asked for a vaccine passport?
Oh, I wouldn't go to the local pub, any local pub that wanted a vaccine passport. I just wouldn't do it. I mean, it's, you know, if pubs want to set restrictions on who they...
What if you needed to go to the supermarket and said you can't come into the supermarket unless you have a vaccine passport? What is he going to do then?
Let in, they can. I mean, some pubs say you can't come in sandals or workwear or jeans.
What? Is this guy insane? No, yes, he is insane. He wanders around with a pint of milk.
Or shorts. Yeah, pubs have all these restrictions. I think there was the chief exec of Shepherd's Neame this morning, though, saying that his pub chain will be welcoming everybody, and I hope that pubs will follow his lead as opposed to the more draconian repressive lead of others.
Have you had your vaccine, in fact?
No, I haven't had my vaccine.
Can I ask why not?
Well, because I'm afraid I'm needle phobic. Anybody who brings a needle near me,
I don't believe that. No, maybe he is. There are people who are afraid of needles, but I'm a bit skeptical. I think he's trying to set out his stall where he's probably an anti-vaxxer. I don't know if he's an anti-vaxxer, but he sounds friendly to anti-vaxxers. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. Nicola Sturgeon proved she has big dangly ones. Boris Johnson started using panties. Keir Starmer is like a mannequin. Nothing is there. Very good.
Is met with a raised fist, so I'll have to wait till there's a nasal vaccine. And of course, when a nasal vaccine appears next year, I'll more than happily take my shirt off for the cameras, as
Why are you going around without a mask on?
everybody seems to want to do. But I'm afraid...
Okay, well, let's move on from Charles Walker, the milkman. Okay, let's move on to Brexit, of course. We're not going to get away from Brexit. It says here from PA Media, EU expecting Northern Ireland Protocol plan from UK in the coming days. So the European Union is expecting the UK to set out a roadmap detailing how it plans to fully implement the post-Brexit agreement on Northern Ireland in the coming days. So there seems to be a little bit of movement on the Northern Ireland Protocol. The EU had, of course, been saying to the UK, you're not implementing the protocol. You need to implement the protocol. Why aren't you implementing the protocol? And it seems that perhaps the UK is starting to do that now. Isn't he Andrew Walker's father? Really? I hope that's not the case. But it would explain a lot of things. He's right about the nasal spray. They're all looking forward to that. I think Michael Gove is already using his own nasal spray. It's just not... you don't know what's inside. White powder normally. DUP calling for more Union Jacks in Northern Ireland, impeding implementation of Northern Ireland Protocol and diluting abortion rights while making sure abortion devices are not rolled out. Busy bees. Mike, thanks for that comment. The DUP are throwing everything they can at the wall and hoping something sticks. Fortunately, the UK government are overruling them in many cases, but I think this is some of the last throws of the DUP. They understand that they are a spent force. They really need to do something dramatic in order to win back support. They are on the way out. The DUP had, they were at their peak a few years ago, and now it's downhill the whole way. I think it really began, the end of the DUP began with the corruption. I think it was Peter Robinson and his wife. They were involved in some sort of dodgy business. 103 versus 409. Smash that like button. Yes, Conservators right. Smash that like button. 400. There's over 400 viewers on the channel, and we're only 134 likes. So smash that like button, guys. Anyway, let's continue with Brexit, of course. Both sides said talks between officials on the Northern Ireland Protocol took place in a constructive atmosphere on Friday after periods of high tensions. The EU launched legal action accusing the UK of again breaching international law after London unilaterally extended the post-Brexit grace periods on trade in the region. The bloc has been demanding that the UK provides it with credible roadmap to implementing the outstanding requirements under the protocol. The EU stands ready to find swift, pragmatic solutions within the framework of the protocol and on the basis of a joint list of outstanding issues. A statement by the European Commission said on Friday. The EU is expecting to receive the roadmap in the coming days. We will see. Both sides said they would remain in regular contact over the coming weeks in a bid to resolve the outstanding problems. Yes, I've been saying this from the beginning. The UK government are not going to throw the Northern Ireland Protocol in the bin. It's all saber rattling. It's all a bit of a storm in a teacup. It's an attempt to appear tough, but you can see in a lot of the comments from both Boris Johnson and Brandon Lewis, the Northern Ireland Secretary, that we're not going to tear up the protocol, because they continually said we're going to look at the protocol. Even Jacob Rees-Mogg was sort of parroting the comments of the Northern Ireland Secretary. Of course, he would throw in, we're going to protect the Northern Ireland and the Act of Union 1801 or 1800, just for theatre. But at the end of the day, the protocol is going to remain, and I very much doubt the UK will damage the protocol. This legal action that's been taken, I think, is an attempt to win over some concessions from the EU. I don't think there are going to be any concessions. I think it's more about putting pressure on the Irish government to put pressure on the EU, or to try and facilitate some sort of compromise. I don't know if it'll work. The EU may just come back and say, well, no, we're not compromising on the protocol. Maybe there's something we can tweak within the protocol to help you out. That's, I think, as far as it'll go. But you see, the protocol is not something set in stone. It's not some unadjustable rule. It is something that can be adjusted to allow businesses to allow business to operate between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I think there's a lot of exaggeration taking place, especially in Northern Ireland, from the DUP and the Unionists about the protocol. So it's expecting the roadmap in the coming days. Both sides said they would remain in contact over the coming days to resolve any. Okay. Goods arriving in Northern Ireland from Great Britain currently face a raft of checks, which are only set to increase when the grace periods expire. So going forward, there are going to be more checks, there's going to be more delays. So it's important that both the UK and the EU work together to try and resolve this. And it seems that that's what's going to happen. So I want to show you, just to stay on Brexit. Actually, let me just, before I continue with this, I want to look at some of your comments. Cokehead Cove. Yeah, Coca-Cola, yes. Like, who is it? Rishi Sunak likes Coke as well. About the milk guy, Charles Walker. DUP insists Northern Ireland is the same as the rest of the UK until Westminster passes abortion legislation. Then Northern Ireland is completely different according to the DUP. Of course, yes, it's always the case. When it comes to, flags, we are the same. When it comes to abortion, no, we're different. We are completely different. Another entity whatsoever, completely. Some DUP voters will switch to the TUV, who are even more hardline. But this is just splitting the vote. It will damage both parties. So yes, some people will will switch, but I think the DUP will come out of it pretty bad. The DUP don't actually offer anything. The DUP are not pragmatic. The opposite. They are living in the past. They could, in a sense, I think they're afraid, they understand that a united Ireland is coming. But they're afraid to admit it, because as soon as they admit that, yes, there's a possibility of a united Ireland, they're finished. Their job is over. They are no longer relevant. And they don't want that, of course. They're politicians. They like the benefits and the money and the comfortable position they're in, and the power and the respect, the unmerited respect that they receive. Reagan Elite, how bad is the Suez Canal block? I was reading, and I shared something on Twitter about it. It's an absolute disaster. And something terrible as well about there are ships that are blocked in the Suez Canal transporting live animals, and these animals are likely to starve and die of thirst because they don't have the resources for them. So I'm an advocate for ending live exports. This should be something outlawed. Anyway, let's get back to Brexit. 21st century extra checks on food exports. Sorry, April 21st, extra checks on food exports, yes. It's just going to get worse. Look, we're going to see Northern Ireland becoming more and more aligned with the rest of the EU. That's the way it's going to go. So this is an account on Twitter called Brexit Bin, Brexit Reality. And this is another account which is a bit strange, because this is Lochfine Langoustines Limited, sea farm, and they have a strange relationship with Brexit because they have been sharing things on Twitter. So this is something they shared on the 17th of June 2016. Local fishmonger shows his feelings out. Now, I don't know if this is them agreeing with what this guy has put up. And then we see the 23rd of March 2021 says here, Brexit update, 38 pages of paperwork today to export to France, over £500 in extra costs per shipment. Absolute madness. We were not told this pre-Brexit, and now it's crippling businesses around the country. And then he tags some people on it. Look, I've said I feel sorry for some of these people. They didn't vote for it, but they're suffering the consequences. Like most people, they didn't vote for, apart from the 17.4 million. But it's not a majority voted for Brexit. A majority of people who voted for Brexit. The majority of people didn't vote for Brexit, but that's a different topic for another day. But this guy's business is suffering, and he shared. This isn't just one option, one tweet. There are a number of tweets from the past where this account was sharing pro-Brexit tweets, which is, it's a case of, I hope it's not the case, but it seems to be the case of, we voted for it, but we don't want to admit it. He wrote on his, he changed his account, or he updated his account to say, did not vote for Brexit. Thanks to the trolls, did not vote for Brexit. Thanks to the trolls. Order online, my views are my own. Did not vote. Anyway, let's go back to the chat. Let me see some of your comments. Forgot to tag Nigel and Brexit hardman Steve Baker. Self-described Brexit hardman Steve Baker. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. What happened to David? No Brexit downside. Davis. David Davis is still an MP. He's still doing interviews. He's still blabbing away about how Brexit is a great idea. He's not challenged on no Brexit downsides. Isn't it strange? This is a big problem I have with the media, is that they will not call out politicians on things they said in the past. Now, I understand that some of the journalists are afraid to push too hard because they end up not being, getting an interview with that politician ever again. But you can't just ask them, what their favorite color is, or, what they're doing this weekend. You need to ask difficult questions. Bring back Jeremy Paxman, for example. David is just as stupid as ever. Brexit hard of thinking, man. Steve Baker. Perhaps Brexit was just a way to make weak people feel strong for a while. I think so, sugar free. It was about making. I think, and I was discussing this with someone recently. I think it was about giving the people the impression or the idea that they had power. Giving the public this idea that, normally when you vote, especially when it comes to first past the post, most of the time your vote is wasted. If you live in a Labour safe seat and you're a Conservative, your vote is wasted. If you live in a Conservative safe seat, if you live in Jacob Rees-Mogg's constituency and you want to vote him out, you have no power. It's a waste. You might as well not vote, because I'm not an advocate for not voting, but your vote has almost no power. That's thanks to first past the post. There should not exist safe seats. Every seat should be a swing seat, because then politicians would actually have to step up and offer something to the public. What does Jacob Rees-Mogg offer to his constituents? I'd like to know. Maybe he's very active in his constituency, but honestly, I don't see how he is benefiting the country. How does the country benefit from from having Jacob Rees-Mogg in the House of Commons. Steve Baker is not at all a gerrymandered seat, only 70 years Tory rule. There you go. How is that possible? Why is that possible? But I think what happened was when Brexit came along, Brexit, of course, was just, one man, one vote. You vote yes or you vote no. You vote in or you vote out. There wasn't this safe seat or first past the post. That was it. It was simple. And I think a lot of people unfortunately believed that they had power in that moment. Power that they didn't have before. And of course, they were misinformed. There was no information to provide. I've talked about this before. What should have been the case was the government set up an independent committee, independent body that provides as close to possible objective information to the public. Provides, these are the benefits of remaining in the EU. These are the costs of leaving. These are the benefits if there are in leaving the EU, and these are the costs. And provided in a transparent, apolitical sense. Backed with information by, the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank or the Bank of England even. Provide information to people in a booklet explaining these are the benefits and the costs of Brexit, the benefits and the costs of the EU. And then I think a much better informed public would have voted differently. But instead you had something like, on the one side during question time, Nigel Farage on one side and then some unknown person on the other. And of course, Nigel Farage is good at talking. I hate to use the word charismatic, but he's charismatic to a lot of people. I find him obnoxious and a charlatan. But I understand that he's good at speaking. He's good at getting his point across. He's good at attacking the other side. He's good at presenting himself, or he was. I don't think he's very good at it now. I think the shine has come off him a great deal. But he was good at presenting himself as an ordinary guy. The guy down the pub. It was all fake, of course. It was all a facade. But he was very good at convincing people of something that he was not. Posturing and stroking hatred, yes. Illegal police action in Bristol now. Oh my God. I'm really concerned about what's happening in the UK at the moment. This flags thing as well, I see it as a step. I don't know how many steps it is away from totalitarianism, but it's very close to taking away democracy completely. We laugh and joke about the flags, who has the biggest flag and how many flags do they have behind them. But there's a push to suggest that people who don't have flags are not patriotic. Back in the 1930s, and I don't like using that analogy, but back in the 1930s, if you didn't have your little flag out the window, the brown shirts would come and, beat you up. That was the way things were. You were regarded as problematic. Your opinion, you didn't raise your arm high enough, you would be considered different, or something was wrong with you. And at the beginning, people would have laughed it off, but later on, those people were taken away and either re-educated or worse. And the UK is heading in that direction. This whole flags thing is extremely sinister. It's a distraction from the real issues that are taking place at the moment. Over 130,000 people have died. There's no mention of that really in the media anymore. Why isn't there any mention in the media about it? Everything is about the vaccine. Look at how great we're doing with the vaccines. Stop talking about the number of people who've died. Let's just talk about the successes. No mention of test and trace anymore. No mention of the disaster of Brexit. Instead, you have the British government, and I uploaded a video about it, the British government investing in propaganda. Articles in newspapers saying how great Brexit is. They know that the public want to hear that Brexit is a success. Doesn't matter if it's real or not. Anyway, I don't have a flag, but a bike. Good job. A bike is more useful. The Nazi salute was created by accident while they were trying to establish how high you should hold a flag. It used to be the Roman salute. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. I hope everyone is wearing their Kevlar mankini in Bristol tonight. I fear this will only harm their cause because the media is covering it. This is one of the problems as well. What's happening is the protests during the day are peaceful, and then you have the elements that come out at night who want to cause trouble, and you also have the people who want to make the protest look bad. So you have, undercover police officers who are wandering around along with the rioters, trying to, egg people on. Break that window. Come on, let's smash capitalism. Let's give Boris and the government a bloody nose. These are the types of people who are, paid by the police department, by the police force. They're ex-police, or they're police officers just in plain clothes, creating problems. Because it's, as I said on numerous occasions, the COVIDiots, the people protesting without their masks on and saying that 5G gives you whatever, these people are never, or very rarely, tackled to the ground and beaten and thrown in the back of a police van. Why? Because they're not a threat to the state. They're idiots. The government look at them and say these people are not a threat. These people, they come out, most of them are, complaining on Facebook for the first half of the day, and then they turn up, have a bit of a protest, get drunk, and then go home. They're no threat to the power of the state or the power of the party. But people who are putting pressure on politicians, those people are a threat. And that's why the government that's why the government instruct the police to come down hard on them and to make them look bad. The flag should have a skull and crossbones. I agree with you, Richard. And nukes, Max. Must not forget nukes. So, yes, we can't pay nurses, but we can buy nukes. We can spend, was it 40% or 20% more on weapons of mass destruction instead of actually paying nurses more than 1%. Anyway, we're getting a bit too serious, so let's have our little comedy moment. You should enjoy this. I thoroughly enjoyed this video. It may go over a little bit over some people's heads, but I think you will get the gist of it.
Detective Moran, you're Irish, ain't you?
Yeah.
Right, so you speak Gaelic then, yeah?
Well, yeah. Well, we all speak Irish in Ireland. Yeah. Right. We have to learn it from the age of 5 to 18. It's a very big, important part of our culture. Very keen to keep those traditions alive and well. Very proud people, the Irish, actually.
Right, because we've got a suspect in there from Connemara, right, who only speaks Gaelic, yeah? So I want you to lead this interrogation.
Oh,
So, still don't feel like talking, eh?
Ní féidir am léirt ach am a hanga Eucas.
Well, unfortunately for you, we've got an Irishman on the force. Detective Moran here speaks Gaelic, just like you. Detective Moran.
Díagúid. Días Murgúid.
Cofhfuil tú a Dagoni.
Galif.
But what lat Uachtarócha?
Uachtarócha?
But what lat Uachtarócha?
Answer the question!
It's brawly, mate.
Ask her where the drugs are coming in.
To cut a yarn or two or the lateness, Sarah.
Malayan to Sarah.
Quit stalling!
Kumigzi on Spawn.
Is that Spain?
Yes,
Great work.
Hey, maybe we should give him a break.
No, he's cracking. Tell him we've got Sinead next door and she's going to start talking.
Ta Sinead?
Yeah.
Gimmer Perls, Sanaris.
That's right, she is.
Agus Vichy, Gehe Ganzi, Aaron Mus.
Yeah. Ganzi. Statements fingerprints, eyewitness accounts, CCTV.
De Lune, de Mort, de Kadeen, de Nulla Coradich, May, Tu, She, Shin, Shiv. Cheat.
Great, he's cooperating. Ask him where he was the night of the 4th.
Cav will too. Cav will on Uffig on Fwisht.
Uffig on Fwisht?
Uffig on Fwisht.
Uffig on Fwisht.
Tá sé tíomh mu, teir chlé, teir yesh.
Is he leading us to the bodies?
Agus tá sé díreach an ach an skull.
Skull?
Skull.
What skull? Whose skull? Tell us where the bodies are!
Pog Mahone.
Pog Mahone. Oh, I know that one. You told me the other day. He's lovely to meet you, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you too.
Yeah, sure.
Doomed up.
It's funny because it's true. Okay, let's move on. Irish people, well, we don't speak Irish very well. We claim to do, but no, we don't. So I want to, just for a moment, I want to finish with Brexit before we move on. This is about, well, trade in January. This is from Sky News. I want to share this with you.
Exclusive polling for this programme that shows the extent of disruption faced by firms in the UK because of the new post-Brexit trading relationship with the EU. Well, the polling by YouGov for Ian King Live shows 52% of companies say they faced disruption since the beginning of the year due to the new trade agreement.
Oh, I'm sorry, I received Geraldine Doyle. Thank you so much for that super chat. Good evening, Max. What do you think of Biden's comments about his family leaving Ireland on a coffin ship because of what the Brits had been doing? Now, I didn't actually hear him say that, so that's interesting. It won't go down very well in number 10. Joe Biden used to be a member of the Irish caucus in the Senate, or I think it was in the Senate or in the House of Representatives. He has deep ties to Ireland, and he's not afraid to say that. He's not afraid to wear his Irishness on his sleeve. I think in a sense, it's going to piss off a lot of Brexiteers and members of the Conservative Party, especially those who want to have a deal. But they understand that you can't in any way negatively affect the Good Friday Agreement. If you do that, there is no trade deal with the US. So I think while they wouldn't be too happy to hear it, it's not going to really affect what's going to happen. Thanks for that super chat.
13% of those say they experienced a large amount of disruption. 17% say disruption has been moderate, while 22% reported a small amount of disturbance.
I think, yes, there are some companies who are going to report a small amount of disruption because maybe they're not doing a huge amount of trade with the EU. They may be exporting to other parts of the world, so they're not going to suffer the same amount of disruption as, for example, the shellfish industry.
But when you ask companies that do a moderate or large amount of EU trade, this rises to an overall figure of 80% of companies that have faced disruption.
Obviously.
With more than a quarter saying that they have faced a large amount of disruption. Well, joining me now to talk about this, the independent business trade expert Ali Renison and Sally Jones, Brexit lead at EY. Welcome to you both. Sally, let me start with you. Are you surprised by these figures?
No, I'm not at all surprised, Ian. That's very much the kind of information that we've been hearing coming from our clients and our contacts.
And Ali, same question to you. Does this correlate with what you've been hearing on the ground?
Certainly, I think in terms of those who trade with the EU, we're seeing a significant disruption. And you have to remember that in January, it was really a perfect storm of variables, COVID, and only a few days for businesses to get to grips with the new arrangements. Remember that the trade figures for January showed a 40% drop in exports to the EU. So that tallies fairly consistently.
I just want to respond to DJ's comment. Will the UK rejoin if voted on now? No, I don't think so. I think it would be evenly split. You would imagine people would say, look, Brexit is a disaster. You have to remember also, at the moment, people are tired of Brexit. People were tired of Brexit back in 2019, and that's why they voted for Boris Johnson, because he said, I'll get Brexit done. And people are starting to hear about Brexit, not every day, of course, but, on a regular basis. And most people are tired of it. They're like, I thought we voted for this. I thought we were out. Even people who voted to remain, unfortunately, they feel that, look, you know, we voted to leave. Okay, we're leaving. We've left. Why are we still talking about Brexit? Because people don't understand Brexit. People don't understand the EU. And while I think many people who did vote and are affected by it directly and understand the consequences of Brexit, they would vote to remain, to get back in, to undo the damage. The vast majority of people, I think, I'm afraid to say, would probably still vote to leave, because they would be convinced. Because you have to understand, if there was a campaign to rejoin, the Brexiteers would be campaigning to stay out, and they have very powerful voices in the media. It would be, the public would be convinced, oh, look, we're going to have this problem of Brexit once again. We have to remember that rejoining the EU would not be plain sailing. You know, the actual difficulties in rejoining the EU are not actually the rejoining part. It's actually convincing the public that it's a good idea. It'd be an uphill struggle, I think, unless it becomes absolutely apparent to most people that Brexit is a disaster. To most people who understand Brexit or understand it somewhat, it's a disaster. But for the average person on the street, a pensioner who voted to leave, they're not affected by it, directly anyway. They don't care. The worst they probably think about Brexit is, well, my grandson or granddaughter can't travel around Europe, you know, to have a good time. Well, that's not a huge cost to me. That's the way they view Brexit, I'm afraid.
Ali, what I'm slightly baffled by is that in the run-up to the end of the transition period, I mean, we had lots of businesses on this programme, and time and again I would say to them, are you ready for Brexit? Are you prepared for it? And they all said, as prepared as we can be. Well, clearly something went amiss with that planning, or otherwise it's proved to be worse than they expected.
I think there's a couple of different variables you have to look at. I mean, at the end of the day, we knew that we were going to be outside of the customs union and EU customs union and single market, but the level of detail, the guidance that, you know, businesses needed to actually get to grips with only came in about 6-7 days before the actual new arrangements took place. And I think that's why you've seen a real sort of scramble, not only just from British businesses, but also their customers and suppliers in Europe to be actually ready to be able to deal with.
And I agree. Why wasn't there a transition period? Said, okay, you should be preparing now. See, what was happening on the EU side is the EU were informing businesses, get prepared for Brexit, get prepared for a no-deal Brexit if necessary. While on the UK side was, no, you don't need to really get prepared for Brexit because everything will be okay. Bogdan, thanks so much for that super chat. I'm sick and tired of Tory incompetence. FFS. It just seems to be getting worse and worse. And unfortunately, an election is still far away. I'm hoping that what's going to happen is the SNP will win a massive majority in Scotland. And this will be this will be seen in a sense as a bloody nose to the Conservatives, a bloody nose for the Conservatives. And that would be an opportunity for Keir Starmer to turn around and say, look at what the Tories have done. They're losing Scotland. They've pretty much lost Scotland. Now Scotland is going to become independent on Tory watch. This is something that Keir Starmer could use to attack Boris Johnson on. He could really go. Actually, this is something I wanted to say. I wanted to do a video on this. I want to apologise because recently I uploaded a video, and I'm going to get to the super chats in a moment to get back to this topic. Something I wanted to say. Recently I uploaded a video with the title Unhinged. And unfortunately, I was probably more unhinged in the video than Boris Johnson was unhinged, because I suggested that Keir Starmer should lie in Parliament, and that was a mistake. I was extremely frustrated with the Speaker of the House, Boris Johnson, lying, and he wasn't being held to account. Boris Johnson can lie his arse off, and nothing. There are no consequences, and I was grasping at straws, for some way for the opposition to respond to this. And I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that Keir Starmer should lie. It's not the right approach. But he needs to find some way of attacking Boris Johnson. Call the party corrupt. That's the truth. They are corrupt. They've taken money from private individuals. They've taken money from companies. Call them out on that. Call them the corruption party if you want. They are the corruption party. But it was wrong of me to say that Keir Starmer or the opposition should lie, because that's not the right approach. It's you're playing into their game, and it defeats your chances of calling them out on lies. I know at the moment it's extremely frustrating because Boris Johnson lies and there are no consequences. But in the long term, if the Labour Party want to get into power, they have to say, look, we're going to tell the truth. So that was wrong of me to call out for Keir Starmer, to suggest that Keir Starmer should lie in Parliament, because it's the wrong approach. So apologies for that. But I may do a video about it maybe some of the next days and clarify. Okay, sorry, Richard, thank you so much for that super chat, Richard. Phil made a good point about the 30-day rule and no visa arrangements in place. Feck business. Yeah, for example, it's been... I didn't see Phil's video, but I think it was Kieran the van driver was talking about it, how if you want to do a trade show in Switzerland, you have to pay a certain amount of money just to get your material into Switzerland to do a trade show. Or it was, maybe it was another country he was talking about, maybe it was Norway. But he was describing some scenario outside the single market, outside the customs union, and how it's a disaster. In the same way, if you're a businessman, businesswoman, and you need to fly to Brussels, or you need to fly to Paris, or you need to fly for an important meeting, you'll need to have a bloody visa. All of this paperwork will have to be filled out. If you're working abroad for a number of months, it has to be up to 90 days, and then you'll have to leave and then return. So it's, and as you said, none of this has been sorted out. Thanks for that super chat, Richard. None of this has been sorted out. Insanity. Has Kieran been on LBC lately? No, he hasn't. It's a pity. I think he's extremely busy. He doesn't have... he's not always free to take call or to call in. He's the type of guy who'd be like, yeah, I'll make a call. Oh no, there's my, I have to fill out the paperwork now. And then run for and get a coffee, and then jump in the van, and then drive from, what was it? He drove from, I think it was Hamburg in Germany to Manchester in one day or something like that. Starmer's first question next PMQ should be, are you a liar? Even worse, Max, you need to have another 90 days. My God. Busy my arse. Working abroad is basically a no-go. Yeah. It's cut off so many businesses from operating abroad. Norway. Thanks for that, Gene T. Anyone want to know what Nicholas really thinks? Watch Jenny Goodley. She does a great show, the voiceovers. I promote her on every stream. Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, and the strength of that the strength of fascism was that democracy has no inanimate to overcome it. No, yeah. The problem with democracy is that it allows fascism to rise, and fascism will take over from democracy. Boris could hump his arse and no consequence. Just the image, and no consequences other than a trip to the clinic. Get the door, Frank. Yes. Yeah, it's 90 days max in a rolling 180-day window, as far as I know. Starmer should challenge the Speaker directly, embarrass and shame him. I think the problem with the Speaker is that he wants a place in the House of Lords after, and he looked at Bercow and he went, I don't want to have that guy's problems, so I'll just go along with whatever Boris is saying. I'll call him out quite, please don't be like that from time to time, just to give the impression that I am actually doing my job.
The fine detail of what that change was going to mean in practice. So it was a pretty perfect storm at the end of the year.
Sally, you were nodding in agreement there. I mean, during January, we heard from ministers that these were just teething troubles. Is that your sense, or is it deeper rooted than that?
No, it's deeper rooted than that, Ian, without a doubt. When we talk to our businesses, our clients, there are teething problems without a doubt. So, for example, it's taking them about 10 times longer to complete the at-border paperwork that they need to move goods across borders. But they're getting better at it, they're getting more practiced, and that time is starting to come down. But I would guess at least half of the businesses we talk to tell us that they have permanent structural problems that are not just teething problems, but are going to fundamentally change the way they do business in the future.
And do you worry, Sally, that this eventually might lead?
Yeah, I think this is something that everyone must remember, that some issues can be resolved. So paperwork, you can hire more staff. You can, once the staff learn how to complete the paperwork, that will get faster. But there are structural problems, like you need to have this paperwork handed into this office at this time. It has to be signed off by this official. These are things that are out. It's the problems for businesses are the things that are beyond their control. So some things are within their control. They can hire more staff. They can train their staff to complete the paperwork. But once the paperwork is handed over to a government office or the port authority or whoever, they have no control over that. So if the government mess up, if the government don't have enough staff, or the system is not up to scratch, is not up to speed, I should say, that's out of the control of the company. So the businesses can't do anything about that. And there are stories of software systems that hauliers use that are incompatible with the government system. The files have to be taken out and transferred into another system. It's an absolute disaster. It wasn't, one of the systems used was designed something like 30 years ago. And these types of programs can't be just written from scratch in a number of weeks. They take months or even years to be perfected. And even after that, they still have bugs and problems.
Some businesses just say, well, this is just not worth the candle. We're going to put our attention elsewhere.
Yes, I think some businesses will do that. So to give you an illustrative real-life example, William Shatner of Star Trek fame has a little online Star Trek memorabilia business, and he says that the UK is the one country that he won't keep selling to because it's now too difficult. Now, you may not want a Star Trek memorabilia phaser or tribble, but it's indicative of the fact that things are much, much harder for small businesses in particular to get ready to trade into the UK than they were pre-Brexit.
But even the large companies as well, the haulage companies, the logistics companies, whose job it is to deliver goods around the world, they were saying, look, we're struggling. So, even large supermarkets like Tesco and Sainsbury's getting goods into Northern Ireland, they were struggling. Like if Tesco is struggling to complete paperwork and red tape, how is a small business to compete?
Ali, what's striking from our polling is that the problems, such as they are, largely affect bigger companies rather than SMEs.
Yeah, and I think that to some extent, when you look at the variables that larger businesses have to contend with, a lot more different sort of trade linkages into different parts of Europe, there's a much different sort of stream of issues that they have to contend with. Smaller businesses, I think, are actually facing as much trouble when they deal with sort of individual sort of single issues. But the larger a business grows, the more, whether it comes from immigration changes, trade and services changes, trade and goods, customs disruption, there's a lot bigger set of things to have to contend with.
presumably, Ali, things are going to get worse rather than better, because at the moment the UK government, of course, has just extended for another 6 months the grace period for Czechs coming into this country. Presumably when that happens, things may get even harder.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are looking at the export side of things when, in fact, from an import side, the UK government's delayed the kind of controls that we now see for trade going into Europe. And so I think when the full brunt of that hits, that's the government, I think, is right to do that, to try and extend the areas that it can control. But, a lot of businesses who export also import. And so when you actually get the full effect of that, all these sort of delayed grace periods are going to add up. The hope is that because you've staggered some of that impact, it won't be as significant.
But the problem with extending the grace periods is that there will be other countries around the world saying, okay, you're not checking goods coming in from the EU. Kendra, good night. Have a great evening. Thanks for coming. If you don't check goods coming in from the EU, well, other countries around the world would say, well, how come you're checking our goods and you're not checking their goods? We want to raise an issue with the WTO. And then you'll start to see litigation taking place through that. So, as we know, Brexit is a disaster. Brexit is not going to go away for a reasonable amount of time. And while some problems are fixable, a lot of them are not. They depend on things that are beyond the control of businesses. Okay, let's move on. So this is something I think that's important for people to know, because in the UK, a lot of the media attention on vaccines is about how the EU is a shambles, EU is not working, the UK is way out ahead. Yeah, but there's a reason for some of this. Now, I did some videos on it recently where we talked about the number of vaccines the EU have been exported from the EU. Mike Allen, thank you so much for that super chat. Loading Holland tonight. My passport is stamped in and out of the EU. I need a new passport this year because of all the stamps, and after 90 days I can't drive. Good luck getting your food in supermarket. I'm sorry to hear that, Mike. I was speaking to somebody about Brexit, and I said, isn't the loss of freedom of movement a negative? And he said that it was the price worth paying for Brexit. Taking away the freedom of movement of people to move into the UK, to stop that, if it meant losing freedom of moving out of the UK, going to the other parts of the European Union, if we can't have that, well, it's a price worth paying in order to stop people from coming into the UK. Although you still have people moving, crossing the channel. Brexit didn't stop people from crossing the channel in dinghies. Okay, Nigel Farage will vouch for me there. So, or vouch for that, I should say. Thanks again, Mike, for that super chat. So, because it says here, EU leaders back global value chains instead of vaccine export bans. So we want to move away from bans on the exportation of vaccines. We need to work together. This is not about the UK and EU. This is not about different countries. We, on the planet, need to work together, because while we may resolve this problem with this virus with a vaccine, there will be more. This should be an opportunity for us to understand that we need to work together. Now you can see here France 23, Scotland 27. Well done, Scotland. So EU leaders back global value chains rather than support Brussels in using new powers to block COVID jab exports to highly vaccinated countries, despite being told that 21 million doses have been sent to the UK. So last week I talked about how 10 million doses were sent to the UK. In reality, it was 21 million. You don't hear many Brexiteers talking about that. At the virtual summit attended briefly by Joe Biden, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen highlighted the large shipments sent over the channel, amounting to 2/3 of the jabs given to the UK. So 2/3 of the jabs the UK has received are from EU countries. The lack of supply to the EU was emphasized in the early summit squabble between the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and her Austrian counterpart Sebastian Kurz, who demanded extra doses. Merkel informed Kurz that the lack of vaccine in Austria was due to the government's failure to order sufficient amounts rather than a failure in Brussels. But in the post-summit statement, the leaders failed to offer their support for the Commission's decision to take new powers, allowing it to potentially block exports to countries with high vaccination rates, or where governments blocked shipments through law or their own or their contracts with suppliers. Previously, the EU had said that it would move against companies that failed to fulfill their contracts with the bloc. Of course, we're pointing the finger here at AstraZeneca. We underline the importance of transparency as well as the use of export authorizations, the joint statement said. We recognize the importance of global value chains and reaffirm that companies must ensure predictability of their vaccine production and respect contractual delivery deadlines. What seems to be the case is that the EU signed a contract with AstraZeneca, and maybe the contract was not robust enough. There were not the requirements in the contract, or the contract was not tight enough for the EU to, in a sense, punish AstraZeneca if they didn't fulfill their side of it. So while the UK may have had a better contract than the EU perhaps put too much faith in AstraZeneca in upholding their side of the bargain. I haven't seen the contract, but it's perhaps a case that, from what I've heard, that the EU had a bad contract with AstraZeneca, and AstraZeneca had the EU over a barrel a little bit. Let me read some of your comments, because guys, you remember you make the stream. Last thingy I heard was going from UK to EU. That was about the people trying to go to Spain, I think, to visit France to get away from the pandemic, just to visit their second home. The EU retained the moral high ground against the low-life British government. Yeah, you see here how the UK government has been saying about how we're leading. Max, need to go. I'm in a conversation with Ronnie Cowan for UBI stream. Great. Can he message you via Twitter? Yes, please do, Mark. Ask him to send me a message on Twitter. I'd love to have him on and talk UBI. UBI. The Guardian let us down by stabbing Assange. Simon, thank you so much for that super chat. Hello, Max. Hello, Conservator. How do you think the vaccine drama will end up? Do you think the EU will be strict on UK? No, I think there will be cooperation. I don't see the EU coming down hard on the UK, because it's not so much the UK, it's AstraZeneca. That's the problem. I think there is an attempt within the EU to punish some people, some parties in the European Union want to punish the UK. So this is something you have to avoid. Avoid listening to Brexiteers. Brexiteers try to present the EU as one monolith block with one voice, one opinion on everything. Well, they'll actually present it like that, and then they will also say that it's fractured and it's falling apart, and there's disagreement. So they try to present two ideas. In reality, no. It's as the spokesman for the European Commission said, it's not a person. It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have feelings. It's more like an administration, an entity. But it's run by different people with different opinions, different ideas. So of course there's going to be disagreement within the EU itself on how to deal with the UK, or to how to deal with AstraZeneca. But I think we're moving in the right direction. I think things are going to eventually, I think there will be cooperation. And I hope I'm right, because it's not in anyone's benefit to have some sort of conflict over vaccines. What's the UBI? We can't get away from UBI, can we? Well, this was not exactly UBI, but I wanted to show you this video, guys. So this is Robert Jenrick, who's the Housing Secretary, responding to questions on Good Morning Britain about child poverty and food banks. Not food free school meals. Now, if this is a recent video. It's not something about what was happening. What is UBI Anonymous? Thank you so much. Yes, well said, DJ. It's a universal basic income. I wonder what that is. Well, I want to show you this video where he was responding very badly to the suggestion that he voted against free school meals for children.
Great to hear you supporting this scheme. I just wonder, why you voted against free school meals then, knowing just how important it is that children are fed and watered and actually can, live their lives as best as possible.
Well, we didn't vote against free school meals. We've actually provided a government programme that is ensuring that
you voted against free school meals. You specifically voted against free school meals, not the voucher system, but you personally did. Of course, we now know Boris Johnson has made something of a U-turn on that, rang Marcus Rashford himself to inform him, and I wonder if in the light of that, you regret voting against it.
Well, I mean, let's not get distracted on that. That was an opposition
I don't feel it is
day
parliamentary
vote
critical
in the House of Commons. Well, the vote itself I'm talking about, not the issue, because the issue is clearly very important. The vote itself was what's called an opposition day debate in Parliament, which doesn't change government policy. It's an opportunity for other political parties to make a statement. What matters is
also an opportunity for you to make a statement of your intent. I wonder if maybe you had to do it because you were instructed to do it, and now that there's been a U-turn, maybe you regret that, or do you...
This is beautiful because she's... I think she understands, but she's trying to show she's highlighting what the public think politicians are like, but she knows what politicians are truly like. The tiny flag guy, yes. Don't worry, he has a huge portrait of the Queen next to him. So what she's trying to say is, there was this bill. Why didn't you support the bill? Obviously, he didn't support the bill because it was an opposition bill. And he, as a Conservative, will vote against the opposition. So if the opposition said, we want everyone to have a free flag, he would vote against it. If the Conservatives said, we want everyone to have a free flag, he would vote for it. That's how it works. Now, she's right to raise the point, but that's how politics works, unfortunately. It's not the politicians look at a bill and say, well, this is actually a good idea. I'm going to vote for it. No, very, very few politicians do that. The vast majority of politicians look at, oh, my party is voting this way, then I vote that way too. Or they actively campaign against the opposition because they want to show the party that they are, fully on board with whatever the party wants. It's about creating a career within politics. It's not about serving the public. It has never been, for many politicians, about serving the public. Jacob Rees-Mogg doesn't serve the public. He serves himself. And Robert Jenrick is the same. There was a there was a bill put forward by the Labour Party about for free school meals, and he voted against it. He wouldn't even think about voting for it because it's from the Labour Party. The Labour Party said we're going to give apart from the Conservatives a bonus, but we want to put a British flag on a Union Jack on every building in the world, in the UK, sorry. They would vote against it because it's the Labour Party. That's how it works. I know she's trying to hold him to account and say, like, why didn't you vote for something that's humanitarian? But it doesn't work like that.
Still believe that it was right to not.
He sort of lets the cat out of the bag here by saying, it was a Labour Party motion. Tom, thank you so much for that. I spy with my little eye something beginning with F.
Opportunity for other political parties to make a statement. What matters...
To make a statement. So it's not whether it was a good idea or not. They were making a statement, and I have to vote against that statement. Isn't it disgusting? This is disgusting. Truly. You should have a politician who's there to represent the people and to vote on policies. Is the policy good? Then I vote for it, irrespective of what the party says. Free school meals free. Coal mines still need workers. Well said, Bogdan. I wonder where that flag was made. by children in China, perhaps. But this is not about looking after poor people. It was never. I don't think he would actively vote against this thing. Perhaps he has some humanity, but he puts his career ahead of his humanity. Mike, thank you so much for that super chat. £1 a second equals 1 million. 11 days, 1 billion, 37 years. Wow. Mog is not self-serving. As a team of servants for class. Well said. F for phenomenally thick authority. Oh my god. Okay, let's move on. So I just wanted to show you that because that was interesting. We're getting close to the end of the... No, I wanted to show you... So staying with... Going back to COVID for a moment.
For a long time.
A quarter of...
Okay. So Boris Johnson is considering vaccine passports. Now this is something that Boris Johnson had said he would never do. But he's actually actively considering vaccine passports for people to get into pubs and restaurants.
These children's lives has passed under lockdown laws. Boris Johnson was visiting a West London nursery just as the government was...
It must be difficult for Boris Johnson to visit a nursery. Be like, what am I supposed to do with all these kids? I have so many of them that I've created, but it feels like they're all in one place at the one time.
Ending those laws. And just after he'd rattled parts of the hospitality industry by raising the prospect of people requiring COVID certificates or passports to prove vaccination or a negative COVID test before getting access to a pub.
The practicalities of it, having someone on the door policing people, it's going to cause a lot of aggravation. I would imagine there'll be a lot of people will be very quick to have fake evidence, Yeah, I just can't see how it would work.
Did you see me on TV, Joshua? Was I explaining about the bar?
Boris Johnson today said such checks could be some way off.
You've got to be careful about how you do this, and you might need to. You might only be able to implement a thoroughgoing vaccination passport scheme, even if you wanted such a thing, in the context of when absolutely everybody had been offered a vaccine.
After months of denial, now indeed it will be the case that you will have to provide your vaccination bona fides when you go to the pub. And those people who are teetotal and...
This guy, Desmond Swain, look, shouldn't be also wearing a mask. He's, projecting his voice. He's projecting his saliva all over the House of Commons.
Imagine that they might be spared that intrusion and inconvenience can dream on, because undoubtedly this will be extended to restaurants, theatres, sporting...
He's laughing, and he's... This is all a joke to him. He's playing a part here. Like, he's just like Steve Baker. He's just like the other guy I was talking about before, the milkman. This is about creating a position in Parliament. Look at who I am. Get me on TV. Create, boost my ego, and eventually my career later on. Swain loves himself, yes. It's that food.
He was one of 35 Tory rebels who voted against the government extending lockdown powers by 6 months. Tory rebels argued that the success of the vaccination programme meant the laws should be discarded now.
76.
In Brussels.
So, half the population have received the first jab and they want to end the restrictions now. These people are insane. Of course, they know that it's not going to happen. It's all just theatre. But imagine if they were serious. Can you imagine if Boris Johnson said, okay, we're going to end the lockdown now, end all restrictions now, because half the population have received the first jab?
Brussels, European Council President Charles Michel was chairing an online summit dominated by the failures of the EU's own vaccine programme and the Commission's demand for export control powers over vaccines. Before the summit started, some European leaders gave a taste of the angst that would dominate their discussions online.
Et donc, là-dessus, on a sans doute, en quelque sorte, moins rêvé aux étoiles que certains autres. Et je pense que ça doit être une leçon pour nous-mêmes. On a eu tort de manquer d'ambition, j'allais dire de folie. Oui, de dire, c'est possible, et on y va.
Und ich gehe sogar so weit, dass ich glaube, dass wenn es hier keine Lösung gibt, dass das einen Schaden für die Europäische Union auslösen könnte, wie wir es schon lange nicht erlebt haben.
The Commission's demand that the EU take powers to block vaccine exports to the UK has alarmed some EU leaders and was condemned as a stupid vaccine war by the last European Commission President, Jean-Claude Juncker.
The scale is incredible, right? 5,000 doses every minute. Yes. Right?
Vaccine wars intensified at the Serum Institute of India, expected to produce 1 billion vaccine doses in coming months, many of them destined for poorer countries. Today, the Indian government has effectively imposed a ban on exports because of concerns about its own domestic vaccine supply.
On a global level, I think this is deeply terrifying, and policymakers across the world are going to worry about how they get vaccines to the most vulnerable citizens. It's the poorest parts of the world in the world.
This is my fear, is that there will be, the richer countries will be curse the kid. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. I like Mankini because Mike Oxmall, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with Mike Oxmall. Not just Juncker, but also his successor, the Prime Minister of Luxembourg. This is there are people within the European Union who disagree with the Commission. That's normal. But I'm concerned about what's going to happen is the richer countries are going to get their vaccines. They're going to go, okay, now let's get back to normal. The poorer countries are not going to be vaccinated. And then what's going to happen is the poorer countries, you're going to have new variants developing there. We've seen it in Brazil. And it's going to spread to the richer countries. And then we're going to have to go into lockdowns again because we're going to have a spread of a new variant. And we're going to be like, well, we have the vaccine and we're not going to be able to be sure if the vaccine is effective against it. I don't want to be scaremongering, but there is a real risk of that happening. That's why we'll need to maintain some sort of, even with the vaccine, we need to maintain social distancing or mask wearing, at least for the foreseeable future.
Those most vulnerable populations that are really going to struggle based on this Indian export ban.
This government's successes on vaccine rollout were cited by many Tory rebels as the reason for voting against the renewal of lockdown laws. Labour votes helped Boris Johnson win. The Health Secretary, pressed to promise this would be the last vote of its kind, couldn't be sure.
Once again, they keep putting dates. They keep saying, okay, this is be the last vote. We're not going to have another vote on this. This is it. We're going to have, it'll be over by Christmas. No, it's not the case. I'm afraid that there are too many gaps, and the fact that half the population has received the first dose, that's good, but it's not full vaccination. And there's pressure on Boris Johnson to start opening up the economy. Look, the vaccine is a success. That means we can open up. He's in a bit of a tight spot because if he says, yes, it's a huge success, it's good for him politically, but then it increases the pressure on him to open up the economy and open up society. But the scientists are telling him, you can't do that yet. So once again, we're in this struggle between what Boris Johnson wants to do politically and what he shouldn't do politically, or he shouldn't do scientifically. Michelle, thank you so much for that super chat. I'm just glad Costco has TVs on offer, so I can see throwing my remote at the TV when I see these clowns are spouting crap. Because please vote yes, everyone. Yes. So you'll be able to invest in a TV on a daily basis, because Boris Johnson and the Tories will be coming to Scotland and saying, vote for the union. Okay, let's move on. So, not exactly related to UBI, but working from home. So it says here, call centers, this is a bit off topic, of course. Call center staff to be monitored via webcam for home working infractions. Thousands of staff at one of the world's biggest call centers face being monitored by webcams to check that whether they're eating, looking at their phones, or leaving their desks while working from home, The Guardian has learned. In a signal of potential battles ahead over surveillance of remote staff after the pandemic, Teleperformance, which employs 380,000 people in 34 countries and counts dozens of major UK companies and government departments among its clients, has told staff that specialist webcams will be fitted to check for home working infractions. I'm an advocate for people working from home because I think it's good for people to be able to spend more time with their family. During a pandemic, you don't want people moving around. It's better for them. But this is not the way to go. To install specialist webcams to monitor if people are going to the toilet, or this is draconian. Did Boris Johnson carry his milk and have a nap? Probably. Maybe Charles Walker came over with a pint of milk to him. Cthulhu, great to have you on the stream. Colin Barrett, Russia is like petrol station run by thieves. It goes on to say, while these will not be while these will in part be used by team meetings and training, the cameras are also connected to an artificial intelligence system that will randomly scan for breaches of work rules during a shift. If one is detected, a still photo is sent to the manager and stored for up to 20 days according to documents sent to staff. If workers need to leave their desks, for example, to have a drink, they will have to click break mode in an app to explain why, for example, getting water, to avoid being reported for a breach. This is terrible. Eating while on a shift is not permitted. Staff are told if the system detects no keystrokes or mouse click, it will show you as idle for that particular duration. And if it's reported to your supervisor, please avoid hampering your productivity. A training video about the webcam system was seen by The Guardian. Says it monitors and tracks real-time employee behavior and detects any violations of preset business rules and sends real-time alerts to managers to take corrective actions immediately. This is terrible. It's the idea of people working from home is a good idea. Allowing people more time with their family, allowing people to avoid hours in traffic. Many people spend almost half their working day in traffic. Some people spend 2 hours over, 2 hours back. Not that many people, but some people do. I'm crying in a corner for 5 minutes. That's terrible. Bollocks to that. Treating workers as kids, yes. I wonder what happened if you like. I'm sure people could tamper with the webcams. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not working. It must be possible to install some. Put a piece of paper, or fabric or something over the webcams. I'm sorry, it must be having a driver problem. UBI would solve this exactly, Jan. UBI would fix these problems. We wouldn't need people to do these call center work. And anyway, AI should be doing this work, not people. Most call centers are run by AI systems anyway, which are crap at the moment. They need more investment, but it's much better than having people. You can shout down the phone at a computer. 1984, yes, even worse. Joshua, I'm always mispronouncing your name. I'm sorry. Your work should be based on performance, not whether you go to the bathroom. What a waste of resources. Exactly. It's about investing money in finding people. Like it's an absolute waste of money, because the amount of money lost by people going to the bathroom or having a drink of water, it's not a lot. In a real sense, it's not a loss of money, because people eventually are more productive. If you know that, okay, I have to work for 6 hours or whatever, or 8 hours with this camera in front of me all the time, you're just going, as soon as the time is up, you're going to finish the work and go. But if you're not monitored like that, you're going to be much more productive. You may spend a bit more time on the system in order to get the work done or to do a good job. Treating people like they are trying to steal from the company or trying to avoid, their work, just creates an atmosphere of distrust between the employees and the company, and the company and the employees, and no one is happy. I am completely against this type of thing. UBI cannot fix broken labor laws. Good stream tonight, Max. Get yourself a beer. Thank you so much, Beer Wizard. Wow. I will. Thank you so much for that. So I just wanted to almost finish the stream. We're a little bit over the time, but I think it's still relevant. Just wanted to show you this quick video from Joe Biden about Georgia. I just wanted to cover the story about the webcams because it's interesting.
About is how un-American.
So he's attacking Republicans so the Republicans are trying to basically stop people from voting in the state of Georgia. And Georgia has a history of stopping generally poor and black people from voting.
What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. It's sick. Deciding in some states that you cannot bring water to people standing in line, waiting to vote. Deciding that you're going to end voting at 5 o'clock when working people are just getting off work. Deciding that there will be no absentee ballots under the most rigid circumstances. It's all designed, and I'm going to spend my time doing three things. One, trying to figure out how to pass the legislation passed by the House, number one. Number two, educating the American public. The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters, the folks outside this White House. I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters. And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. I mean, this is gigantic, what they're trying to do. And it cannot be sustained. And do everything in my power, along with my friends in the House and the Senate, to keep that from becoming the law.
The Democrats need to make it much easier for people to vote, because the idea that We stop people from voting after 5 p.m. As he said, the idea that many workers, working families, people who are working, if they finish work at 5 p.m. and they go to vote, and the polling and the voting booth is closed, the voting station is closed at 5 p.m., they can't vote. But who can vote? The elderly. And I'm not attacking the elderly here, but generally the elderly, pensioners, people like that are more likely to vote Republican. So of course, if you stop younger people or working people from voting, who would generally vote for the Democrats, you're helping the Republicans here. It's about helping the Republicans. The Republicans can't win fair and square, so they have to win using dirty tricks. If the Democrats, and I've been saying this, the Democrats should gerrymander the F out of the country. The Republicans have been doing it for ages. I'm not a fan of gerrymandering, but you have to play dirty. And I'm not talking about telling lies again, but you have to play dirty. It's not even playing dirty. It's about creating a situation that's representative of the people. What's happened is that through gerrymandering, Republicans would win more seats with fewer votes because of the system. You need to tear that system apart. It needs to be more equitable. It needs to allow you need to introduce legislation that allows that forces the polling stations to be open until 10 p.m. in the evening or 11 p.m. in the evening. You also have to invest in staff. You have to write bills to make sure that there is funding available for that, to keep them open. It's not just creating a law to keep them open. You also have to fund it, because if there aren't staff available, then it will not be sustained. But you have to invest in getting people out to vote, making it easier to vote. I'm an advocate for e-voting, for example. The way we log into our bank accounts or whatever, we use our phone. It's a secure system. It's a much more secure system than most things. And we could have an e-voting system like that. Young people, can you imagine young people? We just want you to vote, voting from your sofa, as long as it's a secure system. That's the way forward. And if you had something like that, the Republicans would never win the White House. They would never win the Senate. They would never win the House of Representatives. They would be out on their arses. They win at the moment by stopping people from voting. Anyway, guys, just wanted to show you that because I think it's important. I'm hoping that Joe Biden is going to roll back a lot of these disastrous policies that Donald Trump brought in. He's going to end these types of restrictions that Republicans have imposed upon their constituents, upon the people of America, to stop them from voting. As I've said, the Republicans only win by playing dirty. The Democrats need to make it as easy as possible for people to vote. Fewer restrictions as possible. Okay, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come on the stream tonight, but don't go yet because we have our one for the road. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much to everyone. And I want to say a massive thank you, of course, to the moderators who always do a fantastic job. I hope you're all very well for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Remember, if you want to jump on Discord after the stream, we have our post-stream chat. Anyone who's new, we can meet with me in person just to have a chat, and then we jump onto the general chat. If you become a patron, you have instant access to Discord. So I hope to see some of you there. So as we're almost at the end, I have to show you the one for the road. I almost forgot about that. That wouldn't be very good.
Hi there, Ginny Godley here. I'm launching my own political party. It's called the Let's Be Frank Party. There's going to be no more bunting. There'll be no bunting. There'll be no flags. There's going to be free soup. Every Thursday we'll have a big pot of soup. There's going to be free soup. We're going to legalise and initiate a national agenda on pippity parties. There's also going to be a huge menage. That's going to be what our currency is. It'll be a menage. We're going to bring back Kensittiscootums and football cards. So I vote for me in the Let's Be Frank party. My sausage dog, Honey, she's going to be one of the MPs, wee Honey. And going to get all the Sandras involved. It's going to be brilliant. Going to get independence and free soup. What's not to love? Let's Be Frank party.
I think they're laughing at the end, but it broke it a little bit, but let's be frank. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. This super chat is for the awesome mods. Good job, guys. Thank you so much. So well done, mods. Fantastic job as always. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated, Bogdan. Thank you so much. I think they appreciate it too. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Well, Bogdan, yes. So I hope to see you on the stream after. So guys, have a great weekend. Thank you so much once again to everyone who sent a super chat. Greatly appreciated as always. Thanks to everyone who come on tonight and smash that like button. I'll see you all next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. And as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. So have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you soon. Take care.